Have you ever recognized a world-famous celebrity and acted like you had no clue who they were? I was working the overnight shift at a residential teen foster care group home on Chicago's South Side when it happened. This job breaks your heart 100 different ways a day, but there are moments that make it worth every sleepless night. That particular shift was the worst I'd had in months. Earlier that day, 17-year-old Javi, who'd lived with us for 2 years, was court-ordered back to his abusive father. I'd held him while he screamed and begged not to go, and by 1 a.m., I was running on nothing but lukewarm coffee and sheer willpower. I was doing my final rounds of the dorms when I spotted someone huddled in the dim entryway waiting area. It was unheard of for anyone to be there that late, especially non-guardians, who had to leave by 8 p.m. sharp. As I stepped closer, my breath caught. It was Harry Styles, dressed in a plain black hoodie and sweatpants. No entourage, no cameras, just him, looking exhausted and nervous. I recognized him instantly, but I've learned to give people their space, especially when they show up to places like this vulnerable. "Can I help you with something?" I asked, my voice professional, not a single hint that I knew exactly who he was. He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed, and explained he was there to see 14-year-old Lila, one of our long-term residents. Lila had been abandoned by her mom 6 months prior, and her only lifeline was Harry's music. She'd written him a letter through a foster youth foundation 8 months earlier, but it had gotten lost in a mountain of fan mail, and he'd only received it the day before. He'd flown straight from London to Chicago that morning, and didn't realize how late it was until he pulled up. I told him visiting hours were long over, but my chest ached when he spoke about her letter, how she wrote that she felt invisible, that no one ever kept their promises to her. "Lila talks about you every single day," I admitted. "Your album plays on her iPod on repeat, every single night. She hasn't smiled in weeks." Something in his face shifted, a mix of sadness and quiet determination. He offered to come back the next day, but I could see it in his eyes. He was terrified she'd feel let down all over again if he didn't show up for her right then. I'd seen too many kids here have their hopes snuffed out by broken promises. I made a choice that could have gotten me fired on the spot. "Follow me," I whispered. 10 minutes. No photos. If anyone asks, you're her cousin from out of state, here for a family emergency. Lila was asleep when we slipped into her room, her walls plastered with his posters, her iPod still playing softly under her pillow. Harry froze in the doorway, his eyes glistening. He pulled a chair up to her bed, sat quietly for a minute, then gently brushed a strand of hair off her face. She stirred, blinked, and when her eyes focused on him, her face lit up with a joy I hadn't seen in the 6 months she'd been with us. "You came?" she whispered, like she couldn't believe it. "Of course I did, love. Promises are meant to be kept," he said, his voice warm and soft, exactly like he talks to his youngest fans. I stepped outside to give them privacy, pacing the hallway and checking over my shoulder every 2 minutes for my supervisor. What was supposed to be 10 minutes turned into a full hour. Through the window, I watched him hand her a handwritten letter, a custom hoodie with her name on it, and a signed guitar pick, sitting and listening to her talk like she was the only person in the world. When I finally had to end the visit, he shook my hand and thanked me like I'd done something life-changing for him. "You have no idea what this means for her," I said. "Actually, I think I do," he replied quietly. 3 days later, he showed up during official visiting hours with his full team, brought a full music studio setup for the home, and hosted a private concert for every single kid there. What no one knew was that Lila's therapist had told me the morning after his first visit that she'd slept through the night for the first time without nightmares in 6 months. 6 months later, I got a package at the home, a handwritten note from Harry, and a check for $750,000 earmarked for our teen mental health services. Lila moved into a permanent, loving foster home 2 months after that night, and now she's writing her own music. She's 15 now, happy, and I never told a single soul about breaking protocol that night. Some of the best things we ever do are the ones no one ever finds out about.